Hello, Sigma Chi brothers, sweethearts, and guests. Welcome to our latest Signature Series event on the Sigma Chi Learning Consortium, Enduring Leadership in Action, Stories from the Mountain, presented by the Member Engagement and Enduring Leadership Committee. I'm your host, Joseph Gassensmith. I am one of the current undergraduate representatives on the executive committee of the fraternity, and I was initiated into the Epsilon Omega chapter at Ball State University in October of 2020. I'm also a graduate of the Horizons Huntsman Leadership Summit, and I invite all of our viewers to comment what chapter or where you are tuning in from as we get started. Sigma Chi's Horizons Huntsman Leadership Summit is a 6-day, intensive, interactive, and values-based leadership experience focused on developing undergraduate Sigma Chi's. The Horizons journey begins in Snowbird, Utah, the home of the Enduring Leadership Certificate. In the Enduring Leadership Certificate, Sigma Chi brothers gain the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to become leaders through applying values, social style, collaboration, and organizational change. Learners explore the dimensions of leadership by practicing how to send and receive feedback, enhance their communication skills, and unite a team in support of a shared vision. Participants internalize the importance of character, strengthen their versatility, and become sustainable leaders who can go the distance. The Horizons journey continues with long-distance coaching on campus and in the community. This summer, there are 4 sessions. Participants must be available to attend one of the 4 sessions. To be eligible for selection, brothers must be initiated before May 31st, 2024, and have 1 full academic year remaining in their undergraduate studies by this date as well. They must be in good academic, financial, and Sigma Chi member standing. And finally, they must complete the online application by 11:59 p.m. Central Time on February 11th, 2024. Today, we're going to hear from brothers involved in all aspects of the Horizons experience, each with their own inspiring stories. Throughout today's webinar, we'll explore their journeys on the mountain and beyond. I'm joined today by, first off, Brother Ben Guthrie from Brock University. Brother Ben Guthrie was initiated into the Mu Zeta chapter of the fraternity in the spring of 2020. He currently attends Brock University and will graduate in May with a Bachelor of Recreation and Leisure with a minor in business. In 2021, Guthrie attended the Horizons Huntsman Leadership Summit, and he reascended the mountain in 2022 as a Horizons intern. Ben became the Sigma Chi Leadership Institute's Educational and Business Operations intern in December of 2022, a position he held until December 2023. He has served as his chapter's consul, proconsul, quaestor, custos, and Derby chair, alongside 8 other positions. Brother Guthrie has also held the positions of president, vice president, and philanthropy chair for Brock University's IFC. Next up, we have Brother Kyle Kosmak from RIT. Brother Kyle Kosmak, who is a proud brother of the Lambda Kappa chapter at the Rochester Institute of Technology. Kyle was initiated into Sigma Chi in the fall of 2020, and he currently serves as the chapter's magister. He's also a 2022 Horizons graduate. In addition to his extensive campus and community involvement, Kyle has previously held the positions of consul, annotator, Derby Days chairman, and public relations chairman within the Lambda Kappa chapter. He is graduating from RIT in May with a dual bachelor's and master's degree of engineering in mechanical engineering. Next up, we have Brother Dan Shaver. Brother Dan Shaver has served as the CEO and president of Affinity Consultants since 1997 and has an extensive history with Sigma Chi. He has chaired the Horizons Huntsman Leadership Summit Operating Board and served as a volunteer committee member. Dan has also served as chairman of the Philanthropy Committee and the Member Engagement Committee for the fraternity. He helped establish the Cal State San Marcos and San Diego State undergraduate chapters, and Dan received the fraternity's Mark V. Anderson Character and Action Leadership Award in 2008 and was inducted into the Order of Constantine in 2016. Most recently, he was elected Grand Quaestor in 2023 during the 84th Grand Chapter in Toronto. Dan remains passionate about forming one-on-one bonds with the Brotherhood of Sigma Chi and is proud to serve as a Horizons session coordinator and guide. Last but certainly not least, Brother Alex Sharon was initiated into the fraternity in the spring of 2022. He currently attends the Rochester Institute of Technology, studying mechanical engineering. During his time as a member of the Lambda Kappa chapter at RIT, he has served as chapter editor and annotator and is now the current consul. Brother Sharon has also served on the Interfraternity Council at RIT as Vice President of Judicial Affairs and now serves on the Student Government Cabinet as the Director of Operations. Outside of the chapter, he has worked as a teaching assistant for his program, along with being the current ritual peer for the Psi chapter at Syracuse and a member of the Ritual Education Committee. Welcome, brothers.
Hi, thank you for having us.
All right. Hef, is this where we are playing the promotional video? Awesome. So before we get started, I just want to extend the invitation for any of our viewers to ask questions of our panelists by using the comment and chat feature. At the end of our interview, we will take questions from the audience as time permits. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first question that I have for our panelists is kind of a general question, but it's what inspired you to apply for Horizons in the first place?
Yeah. What inspired me to apply for Horizons is I'm from a very small chapter. We had one alumni go to Horizons before, and he basically just shared his experience with me. Told him how he kind of changed his life and how without Horizons, he wasn't going to be able to be the consul of our chapter. And I go, great, I got to go be Horizons. I want to be the consul of our chapter one day. I got to go and do that. And so I just went online, figured out how to apply. Next thing you know, we're going to the mountain. And so it's because of that one alumni.
Yeah, for me, honestly, the older brothers in my chapter spoke so highly of Horizons. All they ever talked about were the incredible experiences that they had there, and they were constantly encouraging us to go to Horizons, just fill out a little bit of paperwork for a week of incredible experiences. So honestly, just it was important to me to be able to go there and get all those great experiences. And they just told me about how there was so much to learn. You could learn so much about yourself and about how to be a leader. It was a no-brainer. I had to go to Horizons.
I think for me personally, I kind of coincide with what Kyle said, being from the same chapter. My big brother and other older brothers in the chapter just talk so much about Horizons and how it's such an indescribable experience that you really can't comprehend all of it unless you go for yourself and take away the experience and lessons for yourself. And so I just know I had to sign up and apply.
Awesome. And I guess, Dan, for you, what inspired you to become so involved with Horizons as an alumni?
Yeah, great question. You know, I was invited to be a part of the early class in 1999 that was trained to be facilitators. And what's really fascinating about Horizons is we don't just invite undergraduates to attend, we actually make sure all the alumni who are facilitating the sessions actually go through the same curriculum. And so I came to the mountain in 1997 with a group of other alumni, and we went through the same intensive training. And I'll tell you that it was on that mountain that my life was totally transformed. I was able to see a future. I applied all of the exact lessons I've learned in my business, in my family life. And you know what? When you walk away from an experience that fundamentally changes who you are, you want to be a part of it. And so when I was invited to get more involved and to chair the board, I jumped at the opportunity, and they've had a hard time keeping me away. I'm going to be up there this summer leading a session, and I look forward to it every time I get a chance to go up there.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So I guess that kind of leads us into our next question. So a lot goes on at the mountain. Can you highlight some of the key lessons that you learned or skills that you developed while at the Horizons Huntsman Leadership Summit? And Alex, I'm going to send this one to you first.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Joseph. I think two of the biggest things I took away from Horizons is both trust in members in your organization and also being able to play to people's strengths. I think when you first come into Horizons, you're paired up randomly, oftentimes not knowing other people in your small group. And to see the change that happens from day one to the end of the week in how you delegate roles and what people volunteer for so they can excel at, I think is very helpful to bring back to your own chapter in order to engage brothers that might be on the outside and not really sure what direction they want to go to, whether it's an officer role or a committee chairman. And I think it's super helpful in bringing to the younger brothers.
Ben, what about you?
Yeah, definitely echo the playing the strengths to your team part there. But something else I took away from Horizons is definitely the social styles. I went to Horizons just before being the proconsul of my chapter that year. And it was coming out of COVID, faced a lot of struggles. And without learning about just different social styles and being able to identify that in your team, I don't think I'd be able to get through that year. And our chapter that year hit every single goal on our strategic plan. It was an amazing year. And that was really because of social styles. And with that, learning how to kind of communicate with each person based on the way they're going to receive that information, receive that feedback, that was the key thing. Knowing that I couldn't approach one brother the same as I approached someone else. I probably wouldn't have learned that without going to Horizons, and that's what made that year so successful for our chapter.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Kyle?
Yeah, I really kind of have to agree with a lot of what Ben said. The social styles is like enormous. You really can't overstate how important learning social styles is. But for me, I think one of the big takeaways from Horizons, for a lot of brothers, this is kind of their first and biggest like general fraternity event, which they go to. Because Horizons is every single year, whereas something like Grand Chapter is every other, you might not be able to get KTLW. But that display, that brotherhood goes so far beyond the bounds of your own chapter, I think is just really crucial for brothers to understand. I've had the opportunity now to be involved in a lot of inter-chapter operations. And honestly, being at Horizons was the thing that really showed me how important it was to be involved in the fraternity at large. And I mean, just about what really benefits me as an individual, I know that the values-based leadership aspect of Horizons was huge. It's a tool that I found I was able to really buy into unlike a lot of other sort of self-help sort of ideologies or whatever. But that sort of values-based leadership is actually just so useful, learning how to accept and give feedback that's productive. I mean, you really can't overstate how much that can help you develop as a leader, as an individual, as a professional. It's incredible.
Awesome. And last but not least, Dan, and I want to add a little bit to this. If you could kind of highlight on your experience on the mountain in 1997, seeing as that was one of the first times, I think that could be really beneficial for some of our brothers to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating. So up until that moment that I was invited to go and learn about Horizons for the first time, so much of my life was in education system was about filling my brain with information. It was about how do I use these tools in order to apply things about me. And what I realized when I was on the mountain, particularly when I was there in that first training class in 99 was, oh my gosh, my ability to lead is so dependent on my ability to interact with, inspire, and help move people in a direction. And so to be able to pull myself out of an environment, so I was mired in the details of my life, and to go into an unbelievably majestic location in Snowbird, Utah, which is already inspirational with the mountains, and to be able to sit on top of the peak and imagine a future for me, and then to have world-class lessons that were articulated and created by some of the industry's leading minds when it comes to leadership, transformational leadership development, hired by major corporations all over the world, to have those tools and to be able to interpret all of them and apply them to me, it launched me into a whole different category of success in my career and in my life. It taught me and gave me the skills on how to connect, on how to inspire, and how to plan, and how to really leverage leadership for positive change. And so I think all of that kind of coming together, and the fact that the program isn't just one session, it's not just one lesson. It is something that's cumulative, that builds and builds and builds. And then honestly, by the time you go home, you are in a position to accelerate yourself with exponential learning and growth. So I think I can't speak enough about what it did for me in 1999 that set me on the path to being a better CEO, a better father to my kids, a better husband to my wife. And so, yeah, it is one of those things that is not even just about how you lead your chapter. It is about how are you going to apply yourself in any community, whether it's your chapter, whether it's your church, whether it's your family, or whether it's a major corporation. All of these lessons are timeless and very portable.
Awesome. Thank you, brothers, for those answers. That was awesome. So that kind of leads us into our next question. And I think this is kind of a big question because this really answers, kind of the why of Horizons. And so my question for you, brothers, is what do you believe is the value add of Horizons? What impact has it had on your life?
Why don't I jump in? I want to jump in real quick and I'll lead us off since you've got me talking already. I think, you know what, so much is a preparation in life. You guys are at the formative time of your lives. You're going to college, you're learning all kinds of information. And you're like, ultimately, it's about creating more choices for yourself. Where are you going to go and how are you going to get to choose from a variety of options? And I think the thing that happens with Horizons is it broadens your ability to interact and leverage your strengths to accelerate you in a direction of your choice. And what it does is it opens up a door. I'll tell you, when you walk into an interview and you can talk about who you are as a person and as a leader, you can talk very specifically about tools and lessons that apply to how it's going to advance that company's objectives and their mission and their values. And you can actually show examples of how you've applied these things. I just think college does a great job of giving you an experience and a lot of information, and it teaches you patterns of success. What Horizons does is it creates a value add that helps you interpret something broader than that, something more philosophically connected to helping you accelerate yourself and help you move in a direction and move other people in a direction. And so if you go to work someplace, your ability to interact with others is going to dramatically enhance your ability to rise up the corporate ladder. And a lot of folks come in without those skills. And I think Horizons grads have a huge step up in terms of how they accelerate their path once they exit college and enter whatever chosen field they're in.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're really right about that, Dan. Honestly, SCLI and the entire Sigma Chi pledging program are becoming more integrated now. And as P for B and R for L make up that foundational leadership certificate, the enduring leadership certificate at Horizons is sort of like an incredible way to sort of cap that all off and continue your Sigma Chi education. The ability to learn so much from SCLI while you're a brother of Sigma Chi is, I mean, it's incredible. It's a reason to become a Sigma Chi. We're the only fraternity in the Greek letter world who has this accreditation. I mean, that's incredible. But learning those skills to become a really, truly enduring leader, it's not just the name. I mean, it really is what the Horizons program teaches you. And just learning so much about yourself and relationships and how you relate with other people based on your value system. It makes you a better leader, it makes you a better friend, and it makes you a better ally for yourself, personally, professionally. Really in all arenas of life.
Awesome. Thank you. Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with kind of everything that's been said. For the value add, I think it's all about kind of just how exponentially it propels you into your career after university. These skills we're learning now, you're so young as an undergrad. Employers don't really expect you to know these skills that you're getting put into your toolbox. And by being able to go and share that with them, better launches you into that future. Another big value add I had is your mentoring and your small group. When you get up on the mountain, you're put into a group, 8 people, you get a mentor. And that isn't just for that week you're on the mountain. That could be your lifelong. It goes on. You can meet with your small group month after month, every couple of months. That mentor, he's just a phone call away. And these volunteers, all these alumni that give their time, countless hours, they love it. They love the undergrads, and they don't mind giving any time of the night a call if you need help. And that's what my mentor did for me. He was always there, ready. And and so that was my big value add.
That's awesome. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, everything that has been said already is definitely hitting the nail on the head. But for me personally, I think a lot of the value add from Horizons is finding the potential within yourself and just allowing for a week of self-introspection. I know a lot of brothers, myself included, often come into Greek life and recruitment not really understanding what fraternities are or even what Sigma Chi is as an organization. And I think initiation and coming into the brotherhood is that first step. And then Horizons is that second step of we recruit on the Jordan standard. And a lot of brothers often don't see those qualities, even if you're recruited, on what others see inside of you. And so I think going to Horizons, having a week away from all the craziness of college and internships and connecting with other Sigma Chi's and being able to take a look at yourself and understand where you want to go is the greatest thing you can take away from the experience.
Great. Thank you, brothers. So our next question, Dan, I'm going to target you with this one first. How does Horizons align with the broader mission of the fraternal order? How does it align with Sigma Chi?
Yeah, great question. I think many years ago, now almost 25 years ago, even longer than that, Sigma Chi, there was the recognition of the fact that, you exit college and you enter a career, and it's really sometimes the soft skills. I touched on it a minute ago, some of the soft skills that allow you to navigate. A lot of CEOs would report that, hey, we've got a lot of people coming into our companies, but they're not processing information in the same way. They have information, but they are not able to execute on a vision. They're not able to interact with people in a way that's effective. So Sigma Chi decided on a broad base to say, you know what, let's invest in the development of our members. Let's not just ensure that they have a good Sigma Chi experience, but let's make sure they become better Sigma Chi's. And went out and found resources from some top, philanthropists in Sigma Chi and pooled together, again, really some of the best curriculum possible. And so what Horizons is while Sigma Chi is focused on transformational leadership and providing all kinds of tools through the Sigma Chi Leadership Institute, I would say Horizons is the pinnacle of that experience. It is the sense that, hey, I'm going to invest in myself. There's this notion that says when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And what Sigma Chi does is we try to find those people, those leaders who have a propensity to excel, to learn and adapt and take that information and apply it. And so I think what happens is Sigma Chi has said overall, we're going to invest in leadership. We're going to invest in helping our members achieve a level of success, a level of progress that they would not have been able to achieve without all these added tools. And with that, I think Horizons fits very nicely as almost the master's class of all of our different transformational leadership programs. So you may have gone through P4B, and you may have gone to a KTLW. You may have done some of these other workshops and thought, I've had some of this leadership stuff. I've had some information. There's absolutely zero comparison between going through some of these other experiences and what that entire total immersive experience is for Horizons. And it's not just a week. What's great about it is there's an expectation and there's ongoing mentoring that lasts for years. So you have a guide and a mentor that keeps following up and making sure you're applying lessons. So this is the equivalent of what companies would pay $6,000 and $7,000 a year to attend, and it's all free for our members, unlike anything else.
Hey, Ben, what do you think about that question?
Yeah. I think Horizons encompasses everything Sigma Chi is looking for in their mission. Sigma Chi's mission is to foster a brotherhood of transformational leaders who are committed to friendship, justice, and learning. And that is exactly Horizons. By bringing everybody to the mountain, that's the fostering the brotherhood, teaching us all these skills to put into our toolbox that we can continue to grow and develop into our later years. That's creating the transformational leaders. Sigma Chi has put such a good emphasis into developing our undergrads. They even went out of their ways to support their brothers up here in Canada. When COVID happened, they put on a special Horizons up here in Canada for 1 year only. That's because Sigma Chi cares so much about their undergrads. And that's why, Horizons means so much.
Now, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were a member of that 1 year class, right? Up in Canada?
I was. It happened in Banff in 2021. It's truly spectacular. I can't imagine, Sigma Chi wanting to spend so much extra money just to support such a small group of us. And opened up my eyes to why Sigma Chi matters so much. It's made me want to continue my involvement with Sigma Chi, maybe do 2 internships. And I want to just wait for 5 more years after I graduate, because I heard that's the minimum I have to wait to get back up on that mountain as an alumni.
That's awesome. Kyle, anything to add on that?
Yeah, funny enough, Ben was actually the intern for my Horizons session. So, I remember being there for his second time around. But, I really am a strong believer in the power of the P4B program and the power of like Horizons and the entire SCLI program. So to me, Horizons and the mission of the fraternity overall are sort of inextricably linked. It's like bread and butter. You can't have one without the other. And, I really found that Horizons just made my fondness for the fraternity just increase by so much, because I discovered that there was this center of learning pretty much up in the mountains that just showed me that the mission of the fraternity was only getting more powerful and was only picking up more steam as it goes on. Since 1855, Sigma Chi has been dedicated to these principles, and I don't think that there's any greater display than Horizons.
Great. Alex?
Yeah, just to add on to what everyone else has mentioned, there's really no other leadership programs where you're going to be taught by other Sigma Chi's in such an amazing environment. Our 3 great aims, friendship, justice, and learning, you often can't find at the core of other leadership programs. RIT has leadership programs we have for our Greek life community, but having been to Horizons, it's a completely different experience to connect with the fraternity on a larger scale. I know Sigma Chi really likes its metaphors, and so to kind of add on to that, you go up to the top of the mountain at the beginning of the week, and though you drive down on the bus and get on a plane, you never really leave that mountain once you go to Horizons.
All righty. Thank you, brothers, for that. So our next question is, and I believe I may actually be answering this one myself as well, is what is your favorite Horizons memory? And my answer for this question, I guess, is a little bit different. I loved my time on the mountain so much, but I would say my favorite memory comes in the form of the continued contact with my small group. I still actually get together with a few of them, even though we live states away. So my favorite memory was just the bonds that I was able to build on the mountain. But Alex, I'm going to hit you next on this question. What was your favorite memory of Horizons?
Yeah, for me, definitely bonding with the other Sigma Chi's in my small group was amazing. Being able to reconnect throughout the day was almost like a mini chapter meeting for me. And on campus, chapter is a time for everyone to come from their busy week and their busy lives at college and sit down and connect with brothers through discussing our week and discussing business. And I think just being able to connect with other SIGs was my favorite thing overall.
Awesome. Ben, what about you?
The brotherhood up at Horizons. Two major examples. You start the week and end the week with a chapter meeting with brothers from 48 different chapters across North America. To have that is the first time I've kind of experienced brothers from other chapters, but just in that large of a scale. And then the second one is at the end of the week, you ascend the mountain and you go up at sunset. You take photos with everybody, but you all showed up there, one person. And then you ascend to the very peak. You're standing at the top of the world. You feel like you're on top of the world yourself. And you and every single person around you is a whole new person. And yeah, those kind of two moments together are my favorite.
Kyle, what about you?
Yeah, for me, this kind of harkens back to the founding of the fraternity, but when we were done at the end of the day, and we were all able to just go back to our rooms at Snowbird and relax. I think for me, what was really formative from that experience was just standing on the balcony overlooking the mountain and standing there and sort of reflecting on the day with the other brothers who were there. I grew some really powerful connections with the brothers at Horizons that were not even in my group. Just other brothers who I had met and immediately hit it off with. It reminded me sort of the literary character of the fraternity, standing together and reflecting deeply on sort of the lessons of the day and talking about what they mean to us and what they remind us of. For me, it just made Horizons even more powerful. And I look back really fondly on those memories of standing with my brothers and having deep conversations.
Great. And Dan, last but not least, what is
I'm going to tell you something that it started at the very beginning of my experience and the most recent. So back in 1999, I was on the mountain and there was an activity that required both of us to be very vulnerable, where we had to help each other. We would not have succeeded had we not relied upon each other's strengths. And there was a moment and there was a look and it was like, hey, I need you right now. And I was able to step into a different role for me. I'm typically a support cast person. And for me to be able to take a leadership role and say, hey, this is about me helping you through something really hard. And that person turned out to be our current Grand Consul. And so I think what's fascinating to me is, here we were all these years ago, and here's Bob Wilson and I working on something together. And he was able to rely upon me and me, him. And that formed a bond that even to this day, is present in our executive committee meetings, and it was fascinating. And then this last Horizons that I was at a few summers ago, leading I was a session coordinator, so I was leading one of the sessions. And one of my guides, one of my facilitators, I just got to know him, and he shared his life story, and I was so impressed with him as a person. And then he later contacted me and says, hey, I'm looking for something else to do in my career. I want to make a different move. And he and I started talking, and I've hired him as my chief operating officer. So now I get to have a mini Horizons experience practically with a number of people who work at my company, and particularly my right-hand person who helps me, guide all my decisions is another person who has the same value proposition, the same experiential lessons. We can look at each other and know exactly that's a Horizons lesson we're applying on a daily basis. And we're able to create a culture for our business that is really powerful. And so it all harkens back to what happened on that mountain.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you, brothers. So for this next question, Alex, I'm going to have you answer this one first. It is, how has or will Horizons contribute to your professional life?
Something that was really cool for me personally was a week after Horizons, I got to go into an internship as a production engineer at Toyota in their Kentucky facility. And so I immediately got to apply things like social styles and playing to people's strengths in a professional setting instead of academia, and being able to interact with people not only in my department, but other interns from all these different universities across the country, and kind of finding the best way for me to fit and excel in my role Comparing it to my previous internships, I got way more done. One of the items I've been working on, they're presenting to executives in Japan, and I still maintain contact and bonds with my manager and other coworkers to this day, even a month after I finished my internship. And I just want to take all those skills and continue with them after graduation.
Awesome. Ben, what about you?
Yeah, for me, I look at it as I got to experience Horizons 2 years ago. I got to learn all these tools, all these lessons from Horizons 2 years ago. And that means I've got to be able to spend 2 years developing and working on these. But that doesn't mean I'm perfect at any of these, or even if I'm maybe good at any of these skills. But I still have 60, 70 years of my life to keep working on them. If I didn't get to go to Horizons, maybe I wouldn't have learned any of these lessons until 10, 20 years down the road. And that's when I hit day one. But now that I'm already at year 2 of developing these skills, I think that's what's going to bring me right into that professional life, kind of one step above someone else. On top of that, Horizons allowed me to get an internship, go back up on the mountain another time, 5 times actually. And every single week, I got to be able to see a different group of 48 undergrads go through the same missions I went through, see how they kind of show up on day 1, and see a whole new person on day 5, day 6, day 7. I didn't really think it was possible. I knew it happened in me. And I thought, okay, maybe it happens for kind of the odd person. Maybe it's not every session, but seeing it for 5 weeks in a row, I was like, yeah, that's what happens. That's Horizons. It's proven it works. And going back up on the mountain as the Horizons intern, I got to help train the next round of guides. And it doesn't just help undergrads. It helps alumni. These guys went through the exact same programs we did, and they changed at 40 years old, 50 years old, 30 years old. It didn't matter. They all worked together and built the same brotherhood and gained the same skills we did. And then because of that internship, I gained even kind of more value add to my professional life as I went back as the SCLI intern. And in there, I got to interview people. And so that was pretty cool. I think kind of as an undergrad, you're always on the side of getting interviewed and kind of being on the flip side. That's all because of Horizons. It propelled me to get into all those steps, which is setting me up into better careers in the future.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Kyle, how is Horizons and how will it contribute to your professional life?
Yeah, if I'm being very honest with myself, I've not always been someone who's great at accepting feedback. At certain points in my life, it's been something that I've really struggled with. But Horizons really taught me about how to deal with feedback in a healthy way, how to give feedback in a healthy way, which is equally important. Learning that about myself and learning how to be just a better team player, a better friend, a better brother. That was huge for me. I don't think that I would have become consul had I not gone to Horizons. I don't think that I would have been nearly as successful in my career so far had I not gone to Horizons. I'm graduating this semester with a bachelor's and a master's degree at the same time. It takes a lot of teamwork to make it through grad school. A lot of papers written with teams, a lot of big projects, all sorts of stuff. And had I not learned these lessons about how to work effectively with teams, I wouldn't be there by now. I've worked at a really big company, a Fortune 500 company at the time that I actually went to Horizons. And now I'm working at a small startup with less than a 10-person team. So those skills really translate well to either of those settings. And, I really have a lot to be thankful for when it comes to Horizons and SCLI generally.
Great. Last but not least, Dan, how has Horizons impacted your professional life?
You know what? I think there was a time in my life when I thought success was going to be about chasing a paycheck. And I thought that, I went to college, I got this education, I get a job, and now it's time for me to earn. And you know what I often say to some people, listen, you've got to learn before you earn. And one way to do that is to really invest in yourself and add as big a tool belt as you possibly can, so you can apply them in a variety of circumstances. Then your ability to earn later on is directly related to how much you've learned. And so I think you can learn a lot from college, but then you have to put yourself in environments that you have to apply it, that you have to act, that you have to really practice. And college doesn't do that as well. And so Horizons is one of those great examples where we both learn it, we both believe it, and then we get to practice it. And I think that's a really good lesson in life. And this notion of Horizons being sort of a principles before profit type of an experience, that if you practice values and you practice these principles, you will then accelerate what you're able to accomplish, and the outcome will dramatically change your community or your culture at a company, right? I mean, we know with a fact that teamwork is about trust, not a big secret. But how do you create that teamwork? How do you build that trust? And it's really about how do we relate to each other? How do we use tools? How do we connect principles together? And when people feel relevant and they feel involved and they feel invested, man, your ability to accomplish really big things is dramatically accelerated. So I think professionally, it's not like, oh, I'm going to learn this one thing and that's going to allow me to become get into medical school. No, it's a pattern of behavior. It's a pattern of practicing principles over and over with people who are aligned on that same vision. So it has made a big difference for me in my career and in my life. And I will say that it shows up literally every single day. I left the office today and I had a number of conversations that I could directly tie back to the lessons I learned as part of Horizons.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. So next up, we will be taking some questions from our audience tonight. So let's get one of those up. So the first question comes from brother Andrew Crossan. He is the Alumni at Large representative on the EC, actually. His question is the Horizons content better absorbed in the summer before your sophomore year or before your junior year? So Dan, I'm actually going to circle back to you on this one first.
Yeah, Andrew, that's a great question. To me, it's, again, I'll come back to something I previously said. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I think that's a highly individual. I was barely mature enough to graduate from college, let alone. So I'm glad I got to go through in 1999 when I had a little bit of world experience. However, people come to Horizons. I mean, what we know is that in a sophomore year of college is a major inflection point. And you either root yourself into something that accelerates your growth, or a lot of people end up dropping out of school because they don't feel connected. They don't have a vision. They don't feel that sense of purpose. So to me, I don't think it matters whether it's your sophomore year or your junior year. To me, it's really about, are you ready? Are you ready to take yourself on a journey of self-exploration? Do you have an open mind? Horizons isn't for the person with a closed mind who says, I've been an Eagle Scout. I already know leadership. I'm done. I just want to go be in the mountains and tell everybody what a great leader I am. Not the best program for you. But if you're open to learning and you're open to applying and you're open to practicing new things with people who are equally focused on development, then it doesn't matter whether you're a sophomore or a junior or whether you're in your 30s and you're looking at a career change.
Ben, seeing as you've ascended the mountain a few times, I'm curious to hear your answer on this question.
Yeah, I definitely agree with when the student's ready, then that's when he's ready. You have to have an open mind. If you go up the mountain and you're like, oh, I don't care what anybody says to me, I'm just here for a free trip. Yeah, you might not get anything out of it. You need to be willing to hear what these guides are saying into your ears, willing to make a change in your life. Personally, I think the earlier you can get it in your life, the better. So, I'm going to go with sophomore year, but it all comes down to the person if they're ready.
Awesome. Alex?
To add on to what others have already said, it's definitely an individual basis. We do a really good job in programs such as P4B of teaching incoming members to keep an open mind through SCLI programs. And I think having that same open mind coming into Horizons is extremely important. I often tell interested brothers that if you're still questioning not only where do I want to go in Sigma Chi, but where do I want to go in my own life, then that's the perfect time to go to Horizons and take yourself up the mountain and have those conversations with yourself.
Kyle, what about you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think I was way too much of a knucklehead the summer after my sophomore year to really get the most out of Horizons. But, I think that it really is whenever you're ready. But I sometimes wonder, had I gone a little bit earlier, would I have avoided some of those pain points that I had beforehand? But, you can't go back in time. You can't change the past. And all I can say is, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So I'm happy that things happened for me the way they did. And all I can say to people who are considering Horizons is, do it as soon as you can. Apply now. If you don't get in, apply next year. If you don't get in, consider failing some classes so you have another year. That's a joke, but.
Alrighty, so now we will move into another question from the audience. And our next question actually comes from worthy 71st past Grand Consul, Steven Schuyler. His question is, why is Horizons such a critical part of our whole package of leadership programs? Dan, I'm gonna go back to you on this one as well.
Well, I think it really comes down to, leadership is about knowing who you are first and foremost. If you don't know who you are, any path will take you where you want to go. And I think Horizons does probably the most full, it does the best, most intensive job of teaching you who you are as a person, what you stand for, what matters to you. And I think, again, when you're standing on a solid foundation of where you're at in your life, a lot of the decisions, frankly, let's be honest, in every sort of school, we just follow this conveyor belt. I'm in elementary school, then middle school, then high school, then I go to college, and then all of a sudden it's like I just did what everyone expected me to do next. But rarely do we take time to really plant our feet in the ground and say, it's my choice. Who am I as a person? What do I stand for? Where am I going to go? And I think the key piece of Horizons is, I think, the immersive experience. It's about pulling yourself out of your environment and your community around your friends and transporting you to a place both physically and emotionally to allow you to experience your own self in a unique and new way. And I think that's what makes it such a critical part of a transformational leadership experience.
Awesome. Kyle, what about you?
Yeah, I just want to touch on that one point that Dan just made about it kind of taking you out of your normal life. I think that is an entirely underrated part of what makes Horizons so transformative. It kind of takes you out of that hustle and bustle of the normal life. When you're in college, it's classes and internships and summer classes because everyone's trying to get ahead. And you're always looking for that thing that's going to get you a sort of leg up on the competition. Horizons really is one of those things. And just the fact that it gives you this it's like a week-long retreat, right? That teaches you all these lessons. It's not you going away to just relax. It's you going away to really come back a changed person. And I have never had another experience like that in my life, and I might never again. So, that experience of going to Horizons, I think you cannot overstate how much that gives you in terms of opportunity to become a stronger leader, a stronger person. It's really incredible.
Alex, what about you?
Yeah, putting yourself in an environment where you're able to absorb everything that Horizons has to offer is probably the greatest thing that it presents to undergraduate brothers and alumni. I know I myself have been to KTLW, and KTLW is awesome, also an amazing experience. But I just remember being on a college campus still put me in some sort of a college mindset. But like Kyle already mentioned, being able to give yourself a week, not only up in the mountain, but where every second is either you connecting with other brothers or doing a mission or activity, or even just being alone with your own thoughts to ponder the lessons you've learned and what's to come the rest of the week, is something that you can't find anywhere else.
Ben?
Yeah, I think just one other critical point to touch on is that going to Horizons is fully unknown, or the goal is to be unknown. Every undergrad bringing into it, you can't prepare for it, so you have to be your true self. And I think that's what makes it true special, is that you can't be fake while you're up there. It's truly you, and now it's time to be real. It's time to change who you are, and it's time to become the best version of yourself.
Thank you, brothers. So we will get one more question from the audience, and it looks like that question is, how could we talk about Horizons to an internship supervisor? So Dan, I'm going to ask you this one first as well.
Yeah, this is an important part. There's a lot of guys who sort of look at, should I do an internship or should I do Horizons? And you know what? Honestly, it's not a one or the other. An internship, you feel like you need all this experience because I've got to be able to go and prove that I did something. And sometimes it's for school, and sometimes it's like I got to get connected to a company. But that's rushing in too fast sometimes. Really, any company needs you to be your very best. If they're going to hire you as an intern or have you as an intern, it's because they believe you could potentially help the company succeed. Being able to go and talk to a potential corporation that you're interviewing for an internship with and showing them the curriculum that you're going to learn. My goodness, they don't have to pay for that development. They're going to say, this is a blessing. We get to get a master's degree in leadership development and we don't pay for it. Okay, I'm going to let you go for a week. Hey, let somebody else do that. So it's all about how it's framed. Talk to these companies. Let them know what the experience is like. Don't focus on the fact that it's a Sigma Chi experience. Focus on the fact that it's a transformational leadership experience rooted in values, talking about leveraging differences and about strategic planning and action and all the stuff that you can read about Horizons on the website. So it is, and some companies are going to be very myopic and closed-minded, in which case you have to make that tough decision. But please do not foreclose what is really one of the most formative times of your entire developmental life because you wanted to check a box with an internship. That's a short-sighted position to potentially take. I think you can achieve both. And please know this, there are a number of alumni who would be happy to reach out and vouch for the fact that this is a program. Me as a CEO who hire people all the time, I want people who have the skills that are taught at Horizons. I'm craving that, and I can rarely find it. So if you talk about the skill development, most companies will understand it, or they'll be able to say, hey, this is nuts. You should do this instead of this other piece. But don't look at it as a one or the other. Look at it as a both.
And for our brothers in the audience, that answer is coming directly from a CEO of a large company. So that is a great answer. Kyle, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Dan's right. And, at RIT, we have mandatory internships. It's part of our education. You have to get them done to graduate. And so every single summer I've had since I've been in school, I've been at an internship. But the summer that I went to Horizons, I was interning at a very large company, a very selective company. And a lot of people would, give a lot to be in that same position. And, I was maybe a little bit nervous about asking for a week off of my only 12-week internship there. But, I went to my manager and I said, hey, I've got this opportunity to go to this leadership retreat, and they're going to teach me all of these incredible skills. And like any company worth their salt, the point of this internship program is to grow these young professionals. It's to, help these people develop their professional skills. And when, these young professionals walk away from these companies, they can say, look at this incredible product that I am. This is all thanks to these opportunities I've had in the past. And they look back at those companies and see what great interns they produce. So don't be afraid to go and approach your managers and ask about having this opportunity to go away to Horizons. They're probably going to be more than happy to do it.
Awesome. Thank you for those answers, brothers. So for our panelists, the last question that I have for you tonight, and it's kind of all encompassing, is what advice, what would you say to someone who's thinking about applying for Horizons? And Alex, we'll start with you.
For sure. So plain and simple, just go for it. I know in my own life, I've struggled with indecisiveness from very little decisions to very big decisions. And I often like to think that indecisiveness is the biggest enemy to your own success. So even if you have any hesitations, there's hundreds of contacts in the fraternity at large you can reach out to. I know most chapters have either current undergraduates or alumni that you can reach out to if you have more questions about Horizons or even the session. But even if you are slightly interested at all, just do an application as soon as you can.
Great. Brother Shaver?
Yeah, I'm going to say just bet on yourself. Invest in you. You've got to be your greatest advocate. And when you start looking at how am I going to get where I want to be in my life, it means how do I show up? And I would just tell you, put your best foot forward. It's a very selective process. And so you have to write essays. And I know that sounds crazy. Do not use Chat GPT. We have a way to know that. So just don't do it. But I'd say invest in you. You're a good guy. You've got an incredible Sigma Chi experience. You might be at the beginning of your Sigma Chi experience. You might be well into it. But part of enhancing, we're all about striving for something important. And this could be one of the most transformative experiences that you get to meet unbelievable people. And so put your best foot forward. Spend some time, go a little deep on the essays, really try to think it through from a thoughtful perspective to say, am I the ready student? And if I'm ready, I'm going to apply myself to this thing. And people are going to bet. And the alumni that went before you are going to bet with their money on your future. Where else are you going to get that? They're going to bet on you, and they're going to help you win. And so take it seriously, go for it, but continue to bet on you.
Ben, what about you?
Exactly the same. Just do it. Do it now. Don't wait to the last minute. I've seen a chapter brother miss out on applying because they waited to that last day. Don't let that be you. If you're worried about money, exactly kind of what Brother Shaver that invest in you. You maybe make $500 in a week of work. You go there, you're coming away with $10,000. To my math, that's a 2,000% return on investment. I'm taking that any day of the week. So just do it.
And Kyle?
Yeah, everyone's hitting it right on the head. Give yourself this gift. Take this opportunity. This opportunity is only going to come around a couple of times while you're still in school. It's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Everyone I know who went agrees. And you know what? You're going to walk away feeling so great about yourself, about your spot in the world, about this fraternity. I would say just go ahead and do it.
Awesome. Thank you, brothers. So brothers, I want to thank you for your participation in today's webinar. It's been absolutely wonderful to hear about all of your experiences over on the mountain. So this does bring us to the end of our Enduring Leadership in Action Stories from the Mountain. We hope you've been inspired as I have been today by the incredible stories and insights shared by our Sigma Chi brothers. To any viewers who are interested in applying for Horizons, I cannot encourage you enough to take this important step on your leadership journey. You absolutely will not regret it. For more information, be sure to visit the Horizons website, and don't forget to complete your application by 11:59 p.m. Central Time. That's 11:59 p.m. Central Time on February 11th, 2024. And if you've enjoyed this panel, please share this signature speakers event with your friends and fellow Sigma Chi brothers, especially those who may benefit from attending Horizons, as well as anyone who values stories of leadership and the enduring power of our brotherhood. Remember, the bonds formed through Sigma Chi are not just for 4 years, but are for a lifetime, and they continue to shape the lives of our brothers in truly, truly remarkable ways. Join us next Thursday, February 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Sigma Chi Learning Consortium for our next Signature Series live stream in partnership with the Sigma Chi Career Advantage, SIGS in Real Estate. We will be joined by several alumni representing different sectors within the real estate field to answer all of your burning questions about making it in this very fast-growing industry. If you are interested in a career in real estate, you absolutely do not want to miss next week's session. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great night.